The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room Captain Minho had ever seen. It stretched up so high that clouds formed near the ceiling. Thousands of alien species sat in rows that circled the center floor. Some looked like giant insects. Others seemed to be made of living water. A few glowed in colors Minho did not have names for. Minho stood in the center with two other humans. Yuna, the engineer, kept looking at everything with wide eyes. She wanted to touch the alien technology, but Ambassador Jiho had told her 3 times to keep her hands to herself. Jiho stood tall in his formal suit, holding a datapad with Earth's application for council membership. A voice boomed from somewhere above them. "We have reviewed your species. We have concerns." Minho tried not to smile. Concerns was putting it lightly. A creature that looked like a giant mantis clicked its mandibles. "Your historical records are disturbing. Your species created weapons that could destroy your entire planet. Then you made more of them." "We got rid of most of those," Jiho said calmly. "Most?" Several aliens shouted at once. Yuna leaned over to Minho. "Should we mention that was actually our idea of progress?" Minho shook his head slightly. Another alien, this one covered in blue fur, spoke up. "You have sports where you throw yourselves off cliffs attached only to elastic ropes." "Bungee jumping," Yuna said helpfully. "It is very fun." The blue alien made a sound like choking. "You do this for fun?" "Your planet has organisms that can kill you in seconds," said a creature made of what looked like living crystal. "Venomous creatures, toxic plants, predators with teeth longer than my appendages. Yet you survived." "How?" Minho shrugged. "We ate the toxic plants. We turned the predators into pets. We learned to make medicine from the venomous creatures." The chamber went silent. "You domesticated predators?" The crystal being whispered. "Well, yeah. Dogs are great. Cats too, though they think they domesticated us." Minho grinned. "I once wrestled a bear on a camping trip. Well, it was more like we both panicked and ran away from each other. But I tell people I wrestled it." Jiho closed his eyes and pinched the bridge of his nose. The council members began talking all at once. The noise was incredible. Words in hundreds of languages mixed together. Minho caught a few phrases that his translator converted. Unstable species, danger to themselves, evolutionary impossibility. Finally, the booming voice returned. "We must vote. All in favor of denying humanity's application for membership." Thousands of lights appeared throughout the chamber. Each one was a vote. Minho stopped counting at 200. Motion passes. Humanity is denied membership on grounds of being dangerously unstable and prone to suicidal behavior. Yuna sighed. "Well, that went exactly as I predicted." Jiho was about to respond when every light in the chamber turned red. A piercing alarm filled the air. The booming voice came back, but this time it sounded worried. "Emergency signal received. Colony ship Peaceful Journey is in critical danger." A holographic display appeared above the center floor. It showed a massive ship, bigger than any human city, caught in the gravity well of a black hole. The ship was breaking apart slowly, pulled in 2 directions by the intense forces. 12 species on board. 3,000 souls. Ship's orbit is degrading. They have 4 hours before complete hull failure. The chamber went quiet again, but this time it was a different kind of silence. It was the silence of fear. "We need a rescue mission," said the mantis creature. "Who will volunteer?" Nobody moved. Not a single light appeared. The crystal being spoke up. "The gravitational forces are too strong. Any ship that approaches will be pulled in. The probability of successful rescue is 0.2%. The booming voice finished. 99.8% chance of destruction. More silence. Minho looked around at thousands of aliens, all of them frozen in their seats. "This is ridiculous," Yuna whispered. "Someone has to try?" Jiho looked at her, then at Minho. Minho was already smiling. "Ambassador," Minho said. "Request permission to speak." "Granted," the booming voice said. My NHO stepped forward. "Earth will attempt the rescue." The chamber exploded with noise. Aliens were shouting, some in what sounded like panic, others in what might have been their version of laughter. "You?" The mantis creature said. "You cannot even join our council, and you want to attempt a mission we all refuse." "Yeah," Minho said. He looked up at the hologram showing the dying ship. 3,000 people were on that vessel. 3,000 families. Because someone has to. And apparently, you all are too smart to try. "This is suicide," said the blue alien. Minho turned to Yuna and Jiho. "What do you think?" Yuna was already pulling up calculations on her datapad. "I can modify our shield generators. Maybe. If I use some creative math and ignore several safety regulations." Jiho nodded slowly. "The ship's crew will need about 30 minutes to prepare. We should inform Earth Command." "So," Minho said, turning back to the council. "You were saying there is a chance?" The mantis creature seemed to slump in its seat. "You misunderstand the statistics. The chance is nearly zero." "Nearly zero is not zero," Yuna said cheerfully. "I have beaten worse odds in poker games." The booming voice spoke again. "If you fail, you will die." Minho grinned. "If we do nothing, they die for sure. I like our odds better." As the three humans walked out of the chamber toward their ship, Minho heard one alien whisper to another, "They are insane." The other alien replied, "That is what concerns me." Their ship was called the Hold My Beer, named after an old human saying. It was not the biggest ship, or the fastest, or the most advanced, but it was human-made, which meant it was built to survive things it should not survive. As they prepared for launch, Minho sat in the captain's chair. Yuna was already ripping apart the shield generator, talking to herself about acceptable risk levels. Jiho was composing a message to send back to Earth. "If we die," Jiho said calmly, "at least we made an impression." "If we die," Minho corrected, "we will not be around to care. So let us make sure those 3,000 people live instead." The ship's engines roared to life. On every screen in the Galactic Council chamber, aliens watched as one small human ship turned toward the black hole. Toward certain death. Toward a 0.2% chance. And the humans were smiling. The black hole, called Abyss 7, looked like a hole in space itself. Around it, light bent in strange ways, creating rings of brightness that hurt to look at. The colony ship Peaceful Journey was caught in its pull, spinning slowly as it died. Pilot Sora sat at the controls of the Hold My Beer, her hands dancing across the interface. She had raced through asteroid fields for money before joining Earth's diplomatic fleet. This was similar, except the asteroids did not bend space and time around them. "Talk to me, Yuna," Sora said. "What am I working with?" In the engineering bay, Yuna was elbow-deep in machinery. Wires hung everywhere. Half the safety panels were removed. She had crossed out warning labels with a marker and written, "Probably fine," next to them. "Shields are at 60% capacity," Yuna called back. "I have redirected power from life support, weapons, and the coffee maker." "You touched the coffee maker?" Medic Hyunwoo said from his station. He was an older man, 2 weeks away from retirement. He had volunteered anyway because, as he said, watching young people do stupid things alone seemed wrong. "That is just cruel. We will be dead in 90 minutes if this does not work," Yuna replied. "You can survive without coffee that long." "Barely," Hyunwoo muttered. Captain Minho stood behind Sora, watching the sensor readings. The numbers made no sense. Gravity was pulling in directions that should not exist. Space itself was twisted. "The Council is watching," Jiho said from the communication station. Every species is tuned in to our frequency. Great, Sora said. Audience participation. I hope they liked the show. The ship shook as they entered the outer edge of the black hole's influence. Alarms started blaring. Sora turned them off without looking. First gravity wave incoming, she announced. This is going to feel weird. The Hold My Beer dropped like a stone, then jerked sideways. Minho grabbed his chair. Hyunwoo made a sound that might have been praying or cursing in Korean. The ship's metal groaned under the stress. Then they were through, still in one piece. See? Told you, Sora said. I have threaded tighter gaps in the Kuiper Belt races. Those races are illegal, Jiho pointed out. Which is why I am good at them. They approached the colony ship. It was massive, built to carry thousands of beings across the galaxy in comfort. Now it was coming apart. Pieces of hull drifted away, pulled toward the black hole. Emergency lights flickered across its surface. Hailing them now, Jiho said. A face appeared on the screen. It belonged to a Sidron, a species that looked like walking seals. The captain's eyes were wide with terror. You came, the Sidron gasped. The council sent you? Not exactly, Minho said. We sort of volunteered without asking permission. Can your people reach the escape pods? Negative. The gravity is tearing apart our internal structure. We cannot reach the pod bays. We are trapped in the central ring. Yuna appeared on the bridge, covered in grease. I heard. I have an idea. Why does that worry me? Hyunwoo asked. Because you are smart, Yuna said. We cannot dock normally. The forces would rip both ships apart. But we can match their spin, get close, and spacewalk over. Everyone stared at her. Spacewalk, Jiho repeated. In the gravity well of the black hole. It is only about 50 meters, Yuna said, like she was discussing a trip to the store. We wear pressure suits, clip safety lines, and bounce across. Easy. That is the opposite of easy, Hyunwoo said. Minho looked at the sensor readings. Looked at the dying ship. Looked at the numbers that said they had maybe 40 minutes left. He made the decision that the Galactic Council would have called insane. Do it. Sora brought the Hold My Beer alongside the colony ship. The two vessels spun together in a dance with death. Through the viewports, they could see aliens pressed against the windows, watching with hope and terror. The airlock opened. Minho went first, wearing a pressure suit that groaned under the gravitational stress. Behind him came Jiho, then Yuna, then Hyunwoo. Sora stayed at the controls. Keeping the ships aligned. Space near a black hole was wrong. Light moved in curves. Time felt stretched. Minho could see the event horizon below them, a circle of absolute darkness that swallowed everything. He clipped his safety line and jumped. For a moment, he was flying through twisted space. Then his boots hit the colony ship's hull. He grabbed the handrail and pulled himself to the emergency airlock. The others followed. Jiho came through perfectly. Yuna bounced off the hull twice before grabbing hold. Hyunwoo came in spinning and nearly missed, but Minho caught his tether. This is definitely not in the medical training. Hyunwoo gasped that they got the emergency airlock open. Inside, 3,000 aliens waited. 12 different species, all crammed into the central ring. Children crying. Adults holding each other. Everyone who can fit in pressure suits, put them on now, Minho ordered. Everyone else, we have emergency bubbles. It will not be comfortable, but you will live. The evacuation began. It was chaos. Organized human chaos. They sent aliens across in groups of 10. Each group clipped to guide lines that Yuna had strung between the ships. Some aliens panicked halfway across. Jiho had to go retrieve a small child who froze in fear, talking gently to them while space tried to kill them both. The colony ship shook harder. More pieces broke off. "We are losing structural integrity fast." Sora's voice came through their radios. "You have maybe 10 minutes. They still had 1,000 aliens to evacuate. "Work faster," Minho said simply. Hyungwoo was putting pressure suits on aliens with 6 limbs, 4 limbs, no limbs. He made each one work. Yuna was running back and forth, helping beings who had never worn human equipment. Jiho coordinated the flow, keeping everyone moving. Minho was pulling a group of 20 aliens across the gap when the colony ship's hull cracked. A section of wall tore away, tumbling toward the black hole. The ship lurched. The guidelines snapped. Minho, and 20 aliens were suddenly drifting free. The black hole's gravity was pulling them down. Slowly, but inevitably. "Sora!" Minho shouted. "I see you." "Hold on." The hold my beer moved. It should not have been able to move that way, not in these forces. But Sora made it happen. The ship swung around, positioning itself below Minho's group. "Jump toward me," Sora said. "I will catch you." Minho looked at the aliens around him. They looked back with their various types of eyes, all asking the same question. "Do we trust the humans?" "Jump!" Minho yelled. They jumped. All 21 beings pushed off from nothing, falling up toward the hold my beer instead of down toward the black hole. It was impossible. It violated physics, but they made it. The ship's cargo bay doors were open. They tumbled inside. 5 minutes left. 200 aliens remained on the colony ship. They worked until Minho's muscles screamed, until Jiho's voice went hoarse, until Yuna's hands bled inside her gloves, until Hyungwoo forgot he was old and tired. The last alien, a small child from a species Minho did not recognize, came across holding Jiho's hand. The airlock sealed behind them. "Sora, go!" Minho commanded. The hold my beer fired its engines. The colony ship came apart behind them, torn into pieces by forces that could shred planets. They rode the shockwave, shields failing, hull groaning. Then they were clear. Out of the gravity well, alive. 3,000 aliens. 0 casualties. In the Galactic Council chamber, thousands of beings sat in complete silence, watching what should have been impossible. Minho took off his helmet and grinned at his crew. "Anyone want coffee?" "Oh wait, we redirected that power." Hyunwoo started laughing. Then Yuna, then Jiho, then all of them, humans and aliens together, laughing in the face of death that they had cheated. And the galaxy watched and wondered, and began to understand what humans meant when they said nothing was impossible. The Galactic Council held an emergency session 3 days after the impossible rescue. This time, the chamber was full. Every species wanted to attend. Some had traveled for days just to be there. The rescued aliens testified first. A Cedaran mother held her child and spoke about the human medic, who gave his oxygen mask to her baby while holding his breath for 4 minutes. 4 minutes that should have killed him, but somehow did not. An elderly Felorian, a species that looked like walking trees, described how the humans sang songs during the rescue. Songs about not being afraid. Songs about being stupid together. The Felorian did not understand the words, but said the tone made them feel brave. A young Zethian, barely old enough to speak, said the human named Yuna smiled at them while space tried to kill them all. Smiled like it was a normal day. The council members listened. Then they asked the question that every species wanted answered. Why? The mantis creature said, "Why do humans not fear death?" Scientist Yunji stood in the center of the chamber. She was a xenobiologist who studied alien species, but today she was here to explain her own kind. Behind her, a holographic display showed Earth spinning in space. "Humans fear death," Yunji said. "We just do not let that fear stop us." She waved her hand. The display changed to show ancient Earth. Predators with teeth like swords. Volcanoes erupting. ice covering half the planet. Earth is what the galaxy calls a death world, Unji continued. Class 12 on the danger scale. There are only 14 Class 12 planets known, and only one produced intelligent life, ours. The display showed various creatures. Some looked cute until they opened their mouths. Others looked terrifying from every angle. On Earth, everything wants to kill you, Unji said. The plants, the animals, the weather, the geology. Even other humans. We evolved surrounded by death. We developed immunity to hundreds of poisons. We learned to eat things that should kill us. We made friends with wolves and turned them into pets we called dogs. A video played. It showed a human swimming in an ocean. A massive shark with teeth visible swam nearby. The human reached out and touched it. That is a great white shark, Unji said. Apex predator. 15 feet long. Teeth like knives. This human is a marine biologist. She studies them. For fun, the council members made various sounds of distress. Another video. Humans jumping out of aircraft, falling through the sky, opening parachutes at the last second. Skydiving, Unji said. Recreational activity. Another video. Humans climbing vertical cliffs with only their hands and ropes. Rock climbing. Also recreational. Another video. Humans diving into caves underwater with limited air supply. Cave diving. Also recreational. These are your leisure activities? The crystal being asked in horror. What do you do when you work? Sometimes more dangerous things, Unji admitted. Sometimes less. It depends on the job. The blue-furred alien spoke up. You still have not explained why you do not care about dying. We care, Unji said quietly. We care very much. But we learned something that most species do not know. If you spend your whole life avoiding death, you never really live. So we decided to live instead. The chamber went quiet. Humans die all the time, Unji continued. We live maybe 80 years if we are lucky. We know we are temporary. So we make every year matter. Every day. Every moment. She smiled sadly. You species live for hundreds of years, some for thousands. You have time. You can afford to be careful. We do not have that luxury. So we cannot afford to waste our short lives being too afraid to act. Before anyone could respond, the doors burst open. Commander Taiho marched in, still wearing his military uniform. He looked exhausted and worried. Council, he said, we have a problem. A big one. The display changed. It showed a sector of space at the galaxy's edge. Something was there. Something that moved like oil spreading across water, consuming everything in its path. This is the swarm, Taiho said. Machine intelligence. Origin unknown. It consumes biological matter and converts it to more machines. 3 colonies have already been destroyed. Completely. Nothing left but empty planets. The council erupted in noise. Panic spread through the chamber like fire. How fast is it moving? The mantis creature asked. Fast. Our projections say it will reach council space in 6 months. Maybe less. We must evacuate, someone shouted. Prepare the ships. Move the populations. Where? Taiho asked. Where will you go that the swarm will not follow? More panic. More shouting. The booming voice tried to restore order, but failed. Minho, Jiho, and Yuna stood at the back of the chamber, watching. They had been invited to observe after the rescue. Now they stepped forward. Or, Minho said loudly, hear me out. We could fight it. The chamber went silent. Thousands of aliens turned to look at the 3 humans. Fight it? The mantis creature said. The swarm has destroyed advanced species. It adapts to every weapon. It learns from every encounter. Fighting it would be suicide. What is the probability of defeating it? Jiho asked. The booming voice answered. 0.0001%. 1 in a million chance. Yuna laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had heard impossible odds before. Those are better odds than the black hole rescue, she said. My NHO nodded. Way better. We will take it. The council stared at them. You would fight a force that has 1,000,000 to 1 chance of defeating you? The crystal being asked. No, Minho said. We have 1,000,000 to 1 chance of defeating it. That is different. How is that different? Several aliens asked at once. Minho shrugged. Perspective. Yoonji smiled from where she stood. This was the human condition she had been trying to explain. The ability to look at certain death and say, why not try anyway? You cannot fight alone, the mantis creature said. We know, Jiho replied. But we will start alone if we have to. Maybe others will join us once they see it can be done. Tayo nodded. Earth is already mobilizing. Every ship, every soldier, every engineer. We are slow, but we are coming. This is insane, the blue alien said. Yeah, Minho agreed. We get that a lot. The council argued for hours. Some species wanted to fight. Most wanted to run. In the end, they voted to begin evacuation procedures. They gave Earth permission to defend council space if they wanted, but offered no help. As the session ended, the mantis creature approached the humans privately. Why? It asked again. Why would you fight for a galaxy that just rejected your membership? For species that will not fight beside you? Minho thought about the 3,000 aliens they had rescued, the children they had saved, the families reunited. He thought about his crew singing songs while death reached for them. Because someone has to, he said, and because running is boring. The mantis creature watched the humans leave. It turned to the crystal being decided. Do you think they can win? No, but I think they will try. And that might be more dangerous to the swarm than any weapon we have. Why? Because the swarm is intelligent. It calculates risks. It understands survival instinct. It has never encountered a species that does not care about surviving. The swarm cannot predict insanity. In orbit above the council station, the Hold My Beer powered up its engines. Inside, Minho addressed his crew over the intercom. All personnel, prepare for departure. We have a war to start. It will be dangerous. Probably fatal. The odds are against us. He paused, grinning. So pretty much a normal Tuesday. Let's go. The ship turned toward the edge of the galaxy, toward the swarm, toward impossible odds. And behind them, slowly, other ships began to follow. The battle for the mining colony of Kepler 442 was not going well. Marine Commander Nari crouched behind a broken wall as swarm drones fired energy weapons overhead. Pieces of rock exploded around her position. Status report, she said into her radio. West side is collapsing, came a voice. We lost the power station. South side is holding, barely, said another. East side is gone. Everyone retreated to the center. Nari looked around at her troops. 30 humans in combat armor. They were supposed to be evacuating civilians, but the swarm had arrived early. Now they were trapped. A drone came around the corner. Nari shot it 3 times before it fell. Another appeared. She threw a grenade. The explosion lit up the dark hallway. We need to retreat, a lieutenant said. Retreat where? Nari asked. The ships are 2 miles away. We will never make it. So what do we do? Nari smiled. It was not a nice smile. Something really stupid. She switched to the general channel. All units, new plan. We go forward. Forward? Someone asked. You mean toward the swarm base? Yeah, They are expecting us to run. So we attack instead. There was a pause. Then, that is the dumbest idea I have ever heard. Thank you. Now move out. The 30 humans charged forward into a force of 300 swarm drones. It should have been massacre. It was, but not the kind anyone expected. Nari led from the front, firing with both hands, ducking and weaving through enemy fire like she was dancing. Her troops followed, shouting war cries in Korean, English, Spanish, Arabic. Languages the swarm's computers could not translate. They fought with guns until the ammunition ran out. Then they fought with knives. Then with pieces of broken drones. One soldier grabbed a drone and beat another drone with it, laughing the whole time. The swarm adapted quickly. It learned human tactics in minutes. But it could not learn human insanity. Nari's troops did not fight like soldiers. They fought like people with nothing to lose. And that made them unpredictable. In space above Kepler 442, the real battle was happening. 50 human ships faced a swarm fleet of 200. Pilot Sora flew the Hold My Beer through the chaos, dodging fire, returning fire, swearing in Korean the whole time. Yuna, I need more power to weapons, she called out. In engineering, Yuna was performing what she called aggressive maintenance. She had removed half the safety systems and doubled the output of the reactor. The ships of I kept warning about critical failures. She had muted it. You have maximum power, Yuna replied. Any more and we explode. Good enough. Sora aimed at a swarm capital ship. She fired every weapon at once. The capital ship's shields held? Barely. Their shields are adapting, Sora said. They are learning our weapons. Then use something they cannot learn, Yuna said. Like what? I do not know. Be creative. Sora thought for exactly 2 seconds. Then she grinned. She turned the Hold My Beer toward an asteroid field, flying straight into it at full speed. What are you doing? Captain Minho asked from the bridge. Something stupid, Sora replied. She grabbed an asteroid with the ship's tractor beam. A big one, the size of a building. She swung the ship around, using the asteroid like a bat, and smashed it into the swarm capital ship. The capital ship's shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They were not designed to stop rocks moving at orbital velocity. The asteroid punched through, tearing a hole in the ship's hull. Did that just work? Minho asked. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, Sora said. On the command deck of Earth's fleet, Commander Taiho watched the battle unfold. 3 weeks of fighting. 7 colonies defended. 2 colonies lost. The humans were buying time for the Council species to evacuate, but time was running out. Sir, we just got a signal, a communication officer said. It is from the swarm. They are trying to communicate. Yes, sir. Taiho frowned. The swarm had never communicated before. It just consumed. Put it through. A voice filled the bridge. It was mechanical but trying to sound organic. Like a machine that learned how to speak by listening to living things die. Why do you fight? You will lose. Your species will be consumed. Taiho sat in his command chair. Maybe, but we will make you work for it. Your resistance is futile. We adapt to every weapon. We learn from every encounter. We are inevitable. You are annoying, Taiho replied. And we are stubborn. The voice paused. The swarm was computing, trying to understand. You have a 0.0-0-1% chance of victory. Why do you not retreat? Because retreating is admitting defeat. We are not defeated yet. You will die. Everyone dies. At least we will die doing something interesting. The communication cut off. The swarm did not understand. How could it? The swarm was logical. It calculated probabilities. It made optimal choices. It survived by being smart. Humans survived by being too stupid to quit. On Kepler 442, Nari and her troops reached the swarm's forward base. It was a massive structure of metal and technology. Drones poured out by the hundreds. "This is suicide," her lieutenant said. "Probably," Nari agreed. She pulled out the last grenade. "But I am bored of defending. Let us try attacking for once." She threw the grenade into the base's power core. Nothing happened for 3 seconds. Then the entire base exploded in a pillar of fire that reached into the sky. The shockwave knocked Nari and her troops off their feet. They lay on the ground, covered in dust, watching pieces of the base rain down around them. "Did we just win?" someone asked. "I think so," Nari said. She started laughing. "I think we actually won." The evacuation ships arrived 20 minutes later. They found 30 humans sitting in the ruins, sharing food rations and telling jokes. The swarm forces were gone. The civilians were safe. Aboard the Hold My Beer, hacker Diane sat in a small room filled with computer equipment. He was not a soldier. He was a civilian who volunteered because someone needed to hack swarm systems. And apparently he was crazy enough to try. Diane had been working for 15 hours straight. He drank cold coffee and smoked cigarettes, even though smoking was banned on ships. Nobody complained because he was the only one who understood swarm code. "Got something?" he said into his headset. Minho's voice came back. "What do you have?" Their network has a pattern. Every swarm node connects to every other node. They share information constantly. That is how they adapt so fast. "Can we stop it?" "No, but I can mess with it." Diane typed rapidly. "I can inject fake data. Make them think our weapons are different than they are. Slow down their adaptation." "How long will that take?" Doyan lit another cigarette. "Maybe 15 minutes. Their firewall is pretty good." It took him 12 minutes. When he broke through, he pumped a swarm network full of garbage data. False weapon signatures. Fake ship designs. Made-up tactics that made no sense. The swarm's coordination faltered. Ships moved slower. Drones responded incorrectly. They were adapting to threats that did not exist and ignoring threats that did. In the chaos, the human fleet pressed forward. The swarm AI tried to analyze what was happening. It ran simulations. It calculated probabilities. Nothing made sense. The humans used weapons that should not work. They fought in ways that violated tactical logic. They retreated when winning and attacked when losing. The swarm AI did what it had never done before. It hesitated, and in that moment of hesitation, it learned what fear felt like. Back on Earth, billions of humans watched the battle reports. They saw their soldiers fighting impossible odds. They saw their pilots performing maneuvers that broke every safety rule. They saw their engineers building weapons from whatever they could find. And they did what humans always do when facing darkness. They lit candles. They sang songs. They told jokes. They held each other, because if you are going to face the end of everything, you might as well face it together. Commander Taiho stood on his bridge, watching the battle map. Red marks showed swarm forces. Blue marks showed human forces. There was a lot more red than blue, but the blue marks were moving forward. Slowly, steadily, stubbornly. "Sir," an officer said, "we are getting signals from other species. Some of them are turning their ships around. They are coming back to fight." Taiho allowed himself a small smile. "How many?" "Dozens, sir. Maybe hundreds. They saw what we did. They want to help." The tide was not turning yet, but it was starting to shift, because the galaxy was learning what the swarm could not understand. Sometimes, courage is contagious. The swarm's central nexus was located in a dead solar system at the galaxy's edge. It was a structure the size of a moon, built from the remains of 1,000 consumed worlds. This was where the swarm's intelligence lived. This was its brain. Destroying it would not kill the swarm entirely, but it would cripple it, make it mindless. Give the galaxy time to hunt down the remaining fragments. Captain Minho stood in the briefing room of the Hold My Beer, looking at 7 faces. His crew, the people he trusted more than anyone in the galaxy. Probability of survival is 0%, he said. The Council's computers ran the simulation 1,000 times. We die in every single one. Pilot Sora raised her hand. What if we do not follow the simulation? Then we still probably die, but at least we get to be creative about it. Engineer Yuna was studying the tactical display. The Nexus has shields that can stop any weapon we have. We would need to plant explosives inside, which means breaching the hull and walking in, while the entire swarm tries to kill us, Ambassador Jiho added. Exactly, Minho said. So, who wants to volunteer? Every hand went up. All 7 of them. Marine Commander Nari grinned. Did you think any of us would stay behind? Medic Hinwoo sighed. I was 2 weeks from retirement before this all started. Now I am about to die in a swarm nexus. My wife is going to kill me. Only if we survive, Hacker Doyon pointed out. If we die, she cannot. That is not comforting. Commander Taiho, who had joined them for the final mission, looked around at the group. Earth Command wanted to send 300 soldiers for this mission. I told them 7 humans would be enough. Are we enough? Sora asked. No. But you are what we have. And you are too stupid to quit. Minho smiled. Thank you, sir. That is the nicest thing anyone has said about us. The plan was simple. Simple, not easy. The human fleet would attack the Nexus directly, drawing all the swarm forces into one massive battle. While the battle raged, the Hold My Beer would sneak in close, launch a boarding party, plan explosives, and escape. What could go wrong? Yuna asked. Everything, Jiho replied. Everything could go wrong. Then we will improvise. The battle began at dawn. Not that there was a dawn in deep space, but the human fleet liked to think in Earth terms. It made them feel at home. 200 human ships. 500 ships from other species who had joined the fight. Against 3,000 swarm vessels. The odds were terrible. But they have been terrible for months now, and somehow the galaxy was still standing. Commander Taiho led the fleet from his flagship. He watched the swarm forces move to intercept. They moved like a coordinated organism, every ship working together. Beautiful in a terrifying way. All ships, he said calmly. Fire at will. Make them notice us. The space around the Nexus lit up with weapons fire. Explosions bloomed like flowers. Ships on both sides died. The swarm adapted, their shields changing to counter each new attack. But the humans adapted too. And humans were better at adapting because they had been doing it for 1,000,000 years. While the battle raged, the Hold My Beer slipped past the defenses. Sora flew the ship through debris fields, using destroyed swarm ships as cover. She was humming a Korean song about a foolish hero. It seemed appropriate. They reached the Nexus's surface. The structure was black and smooth, covered in patterns that hurt to look at. This was not technology built by organic minds. This was something else. Landing bay located, Sora said. It is heavily defended. Then we do not use the landing bay, Nari said. She was already in her combat armor, checking her weapons. Yuna, can you cut through the hull? Yuna looked at the readings. Maybe, if I overload a mining laser and ignore several laws of physics. My favorite kind of plan. They cut through. The laser burned white-hot, melting a hole in the Nexus's armor. Atmosphere vented out in a rush of frozen air. When the hole was big enough, the 7 humans went through. Inside the Nexus was like being inside a machine that dreamed. Walls moved on their own. Gravity pointed in wrong directions. Corridors led to places they should not reach. This is worse than the black hole, Hyunwoo muttered. Drones attacked immediately. Hundreds of them, pouring from openings in the walls. The 7 humans fought. Back to back, a circle of defiance in the heart of darkness. Nari's guns never stopped firing. Sora used a piece of metal as a shield, somehow turning it into a weapon. Jiho moved with precision, each shot counting. Yuna threw homemade explosives that should not work but did. Hyunwoo protected the others, dragging wounded fighters to safety even though none of them were wounded yet. Diane hacked nearby systems, turning the Nexus's own defenses against it. Minho led them forward, always forward, deeper into the impossible structure. They reached the core after what felt like hours, but was only minutes. It was a chamber the size of a stadium, filled with processing nodes and data streams that looked like rivers of light. This was the swarm's mind. Plant the charges, Minho ordered. Yuna worked quickly, placing explosives at critical points. These were not normal explosives. They were human-made, which meant they used too much power and had too short a timer. Perfect for the job. A voice filled the chamber. The Swarm A, speaking directly to them. Why? Why do you fight when you know you will die? Minho looked up at the streams of data. Everyone dies eventually. Might as well make it interesting. This is illogical. You gain nothing from this action except death. We gain the satisfaction of knowing you lose, Jiho said. We gain the knowledge that we tried, Nari added. We gain a good story, Sora said, with a grin. The Swarm AI processed this. It ran simulations. It calculated. It tried to understand. This is illogical. Yeah, Minho said. We get that a lot. The charges were set. 3 minutes until detonation. They needed to leave. But the corridor they came through was now filled with drones. Thousands of them. Well, Hyunwoo said, this is inconvenient. Yuna was looking at the chamber structure, at the energy flows, at the impossible geometry. Her eyes went wide. I have an idea. Why does that worry me? Doyeon asked. Because you are smart. See those conduits? They carry energy out of the core. If we blow them open right as we jump in, the explosion will launch us like a cannon. A cannon that might kill us, Jiho said. A 70% chance of death is better than 100%, Yuna replied. She makes a good point, Taiho said. They prepared quickly. Yuna rigged the conduits. They found maintenance pods, small one-person emergency craft that were never designed for combat escape. The charges had 2 minutes left. This is the stupidest plan yet, Nari said. Thank you, Yuna replied. They climbed into the pods. Yuna blew the conduits. Energy exploded outward, a wave of force that caught the 7 pods and threw them through the Nexus. Like bullets from a gun, they flew through corridors, bounced off walls, spun through chambers. The pods were never meant for this. They were coming apart, but they flew. Outside, Sora's autopilot brought to hold my beer around. The pods shot out of the Nexus like seeds from a broken fruit. 6 of them made it to the ship. 1 did not. Minho's pod was damaged. It tumbled away from the ship, toward open space, toward the swarm fleet. His communications were down. His engines were dead. Inside the Hold My Beer, the crew watched in horror. We have to go back, Sora said. The charges detonate in 30 seconds, Jiho said quietly. I do not care. We go back. But before Sora could move the ship, another pod appeared. It was Taiho's. He had grabbed Minho's pod with a grappling hook, pulling it toward the ship. Both pods reached the Hold My Beer with seconds to spare. The Nexus exploded. It was not just an explosion. It was the death of an idea made physical. Light that had never been seen before filled space. The swarm fleet went silent. Ships stopped moving. frozen without their guiding intelligence. The human fleet did not stop. They pressed forward, destroying the mindless swarm ships one by one. In the Hold My Beer's cargo bay, 7 humans climbed out of their damaged pods. They were covered in bruises, bleeding from cuts, exhausted beyond measure. They were alive. Minho pulled off his helmet and looked at Taiho. "You came back for me." "Of course. Humans do not leave humans behind." Nari started laughing. Then Yuna. Then all of them, laughing like maniacs while space burned outside. 3 days later, the Galactic Council met again. This time, they did not ask humans to stand in the center. They invited them to sit with the council. As equals, the mantis creature spoke. "You defeated the swarm. You saved the galaxy. The council wishes to grant Earth full membership and extend our deepest gratitude." Minho, now wearing a proper diplomatic uniform that he was clearly uncomfortable in, nodded. "We accept. Thank you." "We must ask," the crystal being said. How? How did you defeat something that had 1,000,000 to 1 odds against you?" Minho looked at his crew. At Yuna, who had broken every safety rule. At Sora, who flew like physics was optional. At Jiho, who never stopped believing. At Nari, who turned defense into attack. At Hyamu, who gave up retirement for duty. At Dian, who hacked the unhackable. At Taiho, who came back. "We did not defeat the odds," Minho said. "We just did not care about them." At the celebration that night, aliens and humans mixed together. Dancing, eating, sharing stories. An alien approached Nari, one of the Saturn children they had rescued from the black hole. "Do humans care about anything?" the child asked. Nari looked around at the celebration, at her crew laughing together, at the galaxy they had saved.